Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to the channel. I am Mars Molina, and I am a professor of yoga, spirituality, and all things related. I've been in the field for about 15 years now, which is even kind of mind boggling for me to think about. And I specialize in several tools to help us support and grow in our spiritual journeys. One of the tools that I use, aside from yoga and meditations, is of course Jyotish, which is the Vedic astrology. And today, I want to talk about something that I've had in the chamber for a while, something that can hopefully turn into a series of videos that we can all learn from, and hopefully it can be something that helps you and supports you in your journey. So today, I want to give you some recommendations, tips, and tricks on how to see growth, as it were, how to see progress, how to see evolution in your spiritual journey. Moving a little closer here because I think the angle, I did something different today with the angle, so who knows where this is supposed to be. But at any rate, let us have a conversation about tips and tricks that can help us in the spiritual path. Tip number one is do not follow the masses. Don't follow the masses. What does that mean? Whatever you see the majority of people doing, that gives you an indication of something that you probably should not be doing. Think about it this way, and this is a strong reality that if you really want to commit yourself to your own evolution, you need to come to terms with this. But it doesn't sound nice on paper, but bear with me. Everyone is on their own spiritual path. And in this path, the sad truth is that majority of people, the masses, are not in an awakened state. This is not me saying that I am better and other people are bad, other people are worse. It is not about that. That is a dualistic style of thought. It is literally an activity of the mind, thinking in duality. That is what the mind does. Rather, I propose to you the idea of understanding that the masses are in their own journey. When we're talking about spiritual evolution, there is no better or worse. I was, in fact, having this conversation the other day in which, if you really boil it down to how the principle of spirituality works, the absolute truth means that all timelines and all dimensions are actually happening at the same place, at the same time. We just perceive it differently. Why do we perceive it differently? Because we are in an ego experience. And an ego experience means that there is one I, quote unquote I, letter I, that is perceiving things in a particular way, and that I is a point in time and a place. So, having said that, again, it is not about saying, oh, the masses are dormant and they are sheep. No, this is not what I mean. It's not about separating yourself. It's about understanding that if you observe keenly the world and the reality that you are, there is, in fact, billions of people in this world, and we can reckon that a vast majority of them are in such a moment in their spiritual journey, in such an era of their time, their timeline for evolution, that does not allow them to access a higher state of consciousness. How do we know this? If it were the other way around, then the world would be in a different condition. This is not to say that there are not majestic and amazing things in the world to experience. Actually, as you continue evolving, you might find yourself that you can access a better rate of health, mind, prosperity, love, all these things. But it is important to understand that the masses are not an indication of where you should go. I'll give you one example. I used to see this a lot when I was growing up. I would be in the bus and you're riding from point A to point B, and in the path, you will see an accident. You will notice, especially because I would sit at the back of the bus. You would see most people would turn back. Right? They will see the accident, see everything that is happening. Don't you think that has an impact? Everyone did it in the bus. Very, very, very rarely do I remember passing through an accident and noticing someone that would not look. The masses are not an indication. And this is very important in today's day and age, that there's such a strong political climate and there's so much social media presence. What you see the majority doing is not where you should be going. What you see the majority of yoga teachers preaching is not the real yoga. So we can break it down like that. What you see the majority doing, it is not that. Another way to understand this, and this is kind of like its own tip and trick, is for you to understand the difference. And this really, really, really helped me in my path. The difference between common, and normal. Common is not normal, and normal is not common. What does that mean? I sound like an insane person here, but bear with me. Common means that something is happening many, many times, and that it is a pattern. It is common, but it is not normal. Normal does not necessarily mean that it's happening a lot. Normal means normalcy. Normal, if you break it down, and you may see this in a lot of my videos, I love going to the root of the matter. I love going to the root of what words mean and to use words correctly. Normal means that it follows a norm. N-O-R-M. What does that mean? The highest norm. It is normal to feel love for everyone else in this planet, but it is common to see that that is not happening. We can see that the normalcy is love your parents, but it is common to find someone who does not love their parents. Common is the masses. Common is not the way to go. Normal is the way to go. A lot of you in your desire to be rebellious against religion and institution and the government and your parents, you said, I will not be normal. I'm going to be the black sheep. Well, guess what? I'm sorry to break it to you, my little friend, but you know, it is very common to find people and families who want to be the black sheep. It is common, but it is not normal. It is not normal to distance yourself from God, parents, religion, spirituality. It is not normal. It is common that in today's era, people will want you to hate other people. They will want you to hate groups. They will want you to hate individuals. And if they cannot convince you, they will turn you into that. Hey, I want you to hate this person because I really hate them. I don't like what they're saying. And if you don't hate them, I think you are on their side, so I hate you too. That's very, very common. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I see it every day in social media and in past events that are impacting through an individual or even entire governments. You see it a lot. So common is not normal. Don't follow the masses. This is my first important advice. Think about this. Think about what's common and think about what's normal. It is common that in today's day and age, people don't trust each other, but it is not normal. It is going against the norm. Please reflect on this. Think of this. Tip and trick number 2 is know who to follow. I spoke about how you should not be following the masses. It is not a good indication of where you should be going. But especially if you're in the first few years of your spiritual journey, I recommend following someone. I recommend that you find someone who can guide you. This is extremely, extremely important. It's probably the best advice I can give anybody. If you are within the first 10 years of your practice, you should be following someone. If you don't have anyone to follow, understand what is it that they say, right? The teacher comes when the student is ready. The master comes when the disciple is ready. So if the master hasn't showed themselves to you, you need to continue fostering and cultivating your desire for a teacher, a master. In the absence of them, having a clear physical presence in your life, you can always foster and cultivate this desire more through prayer, meditation, sticking to one thing and doing it well, and doing it repeatedly and doing it consistently. And of course, referring yourself to the scriptures. Whether it's the Bible, whether it's a saint, whether it's the Quran, whether you want to follow Chinese traditional medicine, and there are masters there that can guide you, whether you want to follow yoga and the scriptures, you want to follow Ramayana, you want to follow Bhagavad Gita, perfect. Whether you want to follow Rumi, whether you want to follow Kabir, whether you want to follow San Juan de la Cruz, whether you want to follow Nezahualcóyotl. See, I could probably list all the people that I've been lucky enough that my teachers have poured their names into my life for me to drench my brain and my heart in their presence. There are so many of them. If you are in the first 10 years of your spiritual journey and you are not savagely dedicated like I am, because my way of dedicating myself to the path is quite brutal. It's quite savage. For those of you who have been following for a while, I would meditate for too many hours. I would do all the practices. I will do everything very savagely. I would foster that fiery desire to connect with God and connect through a master very, very strongly. If you don't have that level of commitment and you are in your first 10 years, then you should be following a master. Tied down with the principle that I gave before of not following the masses. So if you see that everyone is doing this type of rocket yoga, my friend, I can guarantee there are no gurus there. This is the truth. I don't make the rules. I'm just saying the truth. The real masters don't hide themselves in little techniques. It doesn't work that way. So don't follow the masses. Understand that common is not normal, and find who to follow. In the absence of a master showing up in your life, cultivate that desire through philosophers, scriptures, or the best even modern philosophers that you can find, and continue perfecting the people that you are receiving from. Continue sublimating this process more and more. And there is no doubt that you will find a master, that you will find a guide, that you will find mentor through mentor that will hold your hand and take you to the next person, that will eventually connect you with an enlightened being who can masterfully guide you in the path. Tip and trick number 3. This one sounds very, very shallow, but it's actually the one that made me want to record this video because I've seen it a lot. And it's such a silly thing. And it's such a tiny thing that you may say, well, I can't, like I myself, when I started looking into this and I discovered what was going on, I was quite shocked to realize how much damage we do in our own spiritual progress by not being careful of this one thing. And sadly, it's because nobody's teaching it. At least I don't think I've ever seen any video of anyone teaching it. So I had to knock on doors. I had to find out from certain sources what was going on. Why did I keep finding this? Why did I keep going to people's homes or yoga studios or whatever you may call it and finding, hey, why is this happening in such a good place? Why is our altar like this? Why is our yoga studio like that? Why is this temple so and so? So to cut to the chase, you know I like rambling, but to cut to the chase, never ever buy any spiritual item that you don't 100% know and trust the source that it comes from. You don't do this with your gadgets and your technology. So don't do it with your spiritual items. Do it less with your spiritual items. Even in some nice chain stores in certain corners of the world, you might not find the best products. Like here in Mexico, I was also having this conversation recently where there's a chain store and they have all kinds of things for home and some of them are quite nice, but because of where we are in Mexico, it seems like we're getting the things that have already been a little bit damaged. So you need to really be careful with what you're buying. So you don't do that with your spiritual items, then you're in trouble. And I've discovered this a lot, and it's a big danger. It's not just that it won't work, it's actually that it will do the adverse effect. So do not buy, please do not buy anything that is spiritual that hasn't been properly put together by a person who knows what they are doing, by a family or a community or a guru or an individual uh, that knows how these need to be put together. What does all that mean? I should give some examples. Never, ever buy Buddha statues from Amazon. Never buy chakra imagery from Temu. Never buy a Ganesha statue from an Egyptian store downtown or a Chinese store. That's no relation to Ganesha. Unless you know for a fact that the person who put it there did so with the proper prayer, the proper mantra, the proper authority, and the proper connection. The people who build it. The way I started looking into this myself is because, as you may know, I am a sculptor, and of course I wanted to sculpt my beautiful, loved deities, the gods and goddesses of ancient India, because they have such fascinating images. So I started looking into it, and I realized that you can't just go and sculpt them. You need to ask for permission, and you need to do certain rituals, and you need to do certain prayers, certain fasts, and you need to do it in certain days. And then at the core of the statue, it needs to be filled with certain things. Like you can't just make a Hanuman statue. Like you actually need to put together certain items, and some of them are expensive. Items like certain minerals, certain metals, certain stones, and you create a bundle, and then you create the sculpture around this. Isn't that fascinating? I had no idea. I discovered that probably around this time because I started sculpting in my birthday, probably however many years that was, 3 or 4 years ago. So then I started going to certain places, and I saw that they had a Buddha statue, and or a Buddha statue or something, or a crucifix or something that it just didn't feel right. You see all these horror movies that kind of abuse the image of religion. And it's like, oh, it's this temple, but something. Oh, when you bought that crucifix and you brought it home and something happened, you might say, but why? Isn't this something sacred? Isn't this something divine? And yes, it is. But if it has not been plugged in, it won't have those batteries. And unfortunately, it's going to do the opposite effect. So, these, there are some really, to be honest, they're not even nice Buddha statues. They're very ugly, some of them. I don't know, maybe I'll put some images up, I don't know. They're very ugly, they're very disrespectful, they're really silly. They're like cartoonified. Do not buy any cartoonified thing of Virgin Mary. This is very popular in Mexico, and it's a disrespect. She's the embodiment of the divine. Don't make a cartoon out of it. Don't be disrespectful. So these things become recipients for spirit, and because you have not plugged them into the spirit that you should, they get impregnated with the adverse, opposite spirit. So many times, and I actually don't do this anymore, but many times I would go to people's places and I would have to do an activity so that we can clean that up, because you don't. That item has been impregnated, has been possessed by something that is adverse, that is not desirable, that is unfavorable. And after we did that, lo and behold, the problems were fixed. Whether the person had problems, I've had it all. I've had people who had problems in relationship, problems in their business, just feeling that something's haunting them, haunting their homes, and you do these practices and everything's fine now. So, don't buy anything that is supposed to be spiritual at your corner store, at the dépanneur, at the OXXO, at the 7-Eleven, at the Circle K. It doesn't work like that. It needs to come from the source, which is why only certain people, only certain charts, only certain families, only certain groups are supposed to sell those things. And you need to prepare them in a particular way so that they are connected to something, and so that you will not attract evil spirits, and so that you will attract the positivity what that image wants to give you. If it is something that you're doing yourself, you're a little bit better. I actually encourage people to download and print images of the deities. You can print images of Hanuman. You can print images of the divine. You can print yantra. It's ideal if you draw it at least, but you can print images of certain animals. I give this recommendation to some people who are struggling with job. I give them an animal and a mantra, and you put it in a corner of your home, and it'll help you get a job. You can print images of gurus. You can print things like this. That's fine. That's okay. But don't go to the spiritual buffet of I said Egyptian. There's nothing against Egyptian, but like sometimes you'll see a Chinese or an Egyptian or an Indian store, and they're selling a little bit of everything. It's not going to work. It's going to hurt you. And more than once, I have also seen people who use these items negatively. I've seen many little, I don't even like talking about these people. I've seen many little rascals there. They give you, oh, it's a Buddha statue. And then something happens to this person. I've seen it more than once. And a lot of them are people who are relatively close to me, and I don't say it because of anyone in particular, but that's how many times I've seen it. In my own family and friends of friends and in my own friends throughout the years. So if you don't 100% trust a person, do not accept it. And if you don't know what source it came from, reject the present. Tell them, no, I'm sorry, I can't accept it. You wouldn't just, like, think about it. Like, think about your own religion. Here in Mexico, you know, there's a lot of Christianity, Catholicism, right? You don't buy an image of God. You don't buy, a crucifix of Timu. I don't think you even do that from Amazon. You go to a proper place so they can do it. You want to buy a tombstone, you go to someone, and they've been doing it for generations. And they create the tombstones in a particular way. So don't buy deities or saints or anything like that you don't know where it comes from and that you are not sure if it has been built properly, which is very rare, very scarce. Not everyone is actually supposed to sell these things. Oh, and before I forget, also, don't buy. I see this all the time. Don't buy the little prayer beads and then wear them like an accessory. Please don't do that. You wear them as a protection in a particular time and place or certain circumstances or because you were instructed to do so. But even then, you got to be careful. Not everyone is supposed to have prayer beads. It's not fashion. Please understand, it's not fashion. It is sacred. So if you're somewhat careful with your gadgets, what you buy for, I don't know, maybe some of you are careful with the kitchen utensils that you buy. You want to buy quality vehicles, quality gadgets, technology. I don't know. Whatever it may be, quality phone. I don't know. Quality watch. Very important. Quality food for your pet. You should be as careful with spiritual items, if not more. So prayer beads, images of saints. I say Buddha a lot because it's very common. Oh, look at this little, it's Buddha. It's probably good. No, please be very careful. I don't want to do that anymore because it takes a lot of energy. When you go and have to clean that up, it takes a lot of energy. I should do that professionally and just charge a fee for that. to clean up your place from these things. Anything else from that type of thing? They said the Buddhas, the prayer beads. Be careful also, sometimes you buy like an incense holder and it has a Ganesha there, but you don't know who did it. Are they a real yogi? How did they do it? Are they just doing it to show off? To do whatever. You have a jeweler friend and they do cheap metal and they do a chakra thing. Please advise your friends, hey, actually when you do certain things for the divine, you should only use these materials, these gemstones, these minerals, these metals. Be careful. So those are some spiritual tricks and tips. If you like this video, please let me know. I would love to hear your feedback and your thoughts. And if you want to see more videos about tips and tricks to further our spiritual evolution, please let me know by dropping a comment below. I hope this has been helpful, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that may result from this. As always, I wish you a fantastic week ahead. Please take good care of yourselves, and I wish you the best in your journey. Take care.